Today I just want to hang out, dads. Just kind of chill. We've been doing a lot of conversations around gear and this, that, and the other, and I think we take a step back and let's just talk about simplicity, keeping it easy. And, came out recently that Ubisoft is going to be charging a ton of money for their new installment into the Assassin's Creed franchise. Surprise, surprise, Ubisoft is being weird again. And it got me thinking a lot about subscription services. We've talked at length about subscription services here, and we'll probably talk about it some more here and there. But I really have been, talking about subscription service is bad, this, that, and the other, putting stuff behind paywalls, pre-orders, digital stuff. But I never really took a step back to think about what does that truly mean for me as a gamer, me as someone who strives to do this for a long time. And as I did that, I realized that there's one word that can sum all of it up. Huge shout out to Sora, thank you Wampa, and that is simplicity. I love gear. I love things. Creature of consumerism. I don't love that about myself, but I'm very self-aware. I like all that. In my age, as I'm getting older, I'm not that old, I'm still old though, 35. As I get older, I look at my things and I realize, a lot of it seemingly unnecessary. This is the coolest Aeropress in the world. Now, I want to talk about the Aeropress for a second as an example, right? Not just as a piece of coffee hardware, but as a point to this subject. The Aeropress as a device is one of the simplest coffee making tools out there. For anyone who wants to get into making craft coffee, I would highly recommend getting an Aeropress. It's very easy. What you're seeing right now is me setting up the whole thing and brewing a cup of coffee. The simplicity in it allows me to participate in something that is a little bit more crafty. I get to make my cup of coffee. There's the customization aspect of it because now you can have 5 different colors, which is super cool. I wish that they sponsored me, but I just found out about this because of the really rad Discord community I have, and someone purchased this because they obviously did. They're a 90s kid like me. But the simplicity in it really is the selling point. This is just a tube. A tube with a very simple design, allowing you to put a piece of paper and you can get involved in the specialty coffee space very easily. When I think about the Aeropress, I know where you guys think I'm going with this, and I exactly am going in that direction. When I think about the Aeropress, I think about the piece of gaming technology that I have right here, next to me, my Steam Deck. Not because the Steam Deck is just like an Aeropress, but I think about how the barrier of entry is so unbelievably low when it comes to gaming in general, especially as time goes on and as gaming gets more and more silly and complex and, not self-serving. Oh gosh, I just spilled so much coffee everywhere. I look at this and I go, is this really the best option for me? Is this the best option for me? In the grand scheme of things, it's not, I would say, the most robust option, but it certainly is the simplest, right? You can go the hyper simple route, which I would say is a normal coffee maker. That normal coffee maker would be the gaming console. It can do the job well enough. It can get you exactly what you want, which is a cup of coffee. Can some do better? Sure, you can spend more money on a coffee machine that has more control over what it does. Oh, I'm going to regret this, but I'm doing that onto the floor. And you get yourself a really great cup of coffee. That's the gaming console. Now, in that really good cup of coffee, are you going to get all of the nuances and the customizations? No, you just get yourself a good enough cup of coffee. Gaming console. As time goes on, you go, man, I kind of just want a little bit more, and you might do what I'm doing. Manual brew, as it's called. Man brew. If you are someone who goes to a coffee shop, you might hear them use that as shorthand, man brew. And you'll see them do V60s and Kalitas and all these crazy fancy things. When in reality, all that has a high level, it's a razor thin margin. You can get yourself a really incredible experience, cup of coffee, or you can get yourself a really bad experience if someone doesn't know what they're doing. That's PC gaming. Windows gives you the most flexibility. the absolute most flexibility out there, allowing you to customize and change and shift and dip and dive and dodge and dip and dive all over the place, but it comes at somewhat of a cost. And that cost is, well, complexity, learning something, the finesse of understanding drivers and updates and stuff like that. Now, over time, stuff has gotten easier. We have more information, YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, such as all of the crazy coffee gear that exists. But still, at the end of the day, it's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more difficult and, dare I say, expensive to get into. With expensive grinders and special types of gear like this, just like computers and PCs for that matter, you're going to have a similar type of experience. Ooh, that makes it want to pop. It's going to pop. There it goes, it pops. Now, after a while, you go, man, this is great. I love the customization. I love being able to do all these things. But what if I want the best of both worlds? What if I'm willing to sacrifice some of that customization, some of that extreme clarity when it comes to flavor, and instead try to dial in an experience that is just as personal because it's my own, but also much simpler and, well, kind of charming. That's where this Aeropress has really intrigued me. Now, I've been an Aeropress user for a long time, and this is not an ad for Aeropress. Again, I'm not sponsored by them at all, and I'm not suggesting you go out and get one, but they're a lot of fun to use. But what's exciting and what gets me so excited to talk about Steam Deck again is the very same reason why I like this. This device, this little cool looking device, right? And I feel like the Steam Deck is cool now that I put all this stuff on it. This little device is a few things. One, it's hyper portable. I can take this anywhere I want, and I can make that exact cup of coffee I made with a hand grinder, a scale, which is necessary when doing any of this because you want precision, right? And also, and this is the big part, a cup with hot water. You don't need to have a $250 kettle that has a gooseneck pitcher and temperature control. Though that does add a little bit of extra oomph to the coffee because you're able to, hey, guess what number it is? 2. As always, because you're able to control one of the variables, water, extremely specifically. You don't need it. You can literally take a hot paper cup and fold it so that it has a spout so that you can just slowly pour so that you're not splashing all over the place. There's only 2 other things you need. You need a scale and you need a grinder, both of which are relatively inexpensive if you get ones that were the right thing. I look at this and I look at this experience and I'm like, how fitting is it that I'm obsessed with Aeropress? I always have been, but these colors get me really amped up. I just love the design. As much as I'm obsessed with something like the Steam Deck, there are plenty of other options out there. As I said, there's Bee House, Kalita, V60, Origami, Clever. There are so many other ways to do exactly the same thing. And in some ways, you're going to get an objectively better cup of coffee. And if you do the scientific the equations and you pull out the different dissolved solids and percentages for extraction, you're going to have data that tells you that you have objectively a better cup of coffee. At the end of the day, it's all about preference and ease of use. And that's exactly what I feel when I use something like this. As time has gone on, and as I look at my desk with a PlayStation 5, and I have my life with my kids and wife and everything just very nice and very awesome, I want less. And I want every single thing I have to do exactly what it's intended to do, just so absurdly well. And that's why when I got this thing, it first was just fun because look at it, dude. It's freaking purple. It's so cool looking. It's by far my favorite piece of coffee equipment. By and large. And it's cheap. For an all-inclusive one, it comes with filters. It's $50. That's it. That whole thing is $50. It can make delicious competition level cups of coffee, or it can make really crappy cups of coffee if you're not paying attention, or it can just make a great simple cup. I take one with me everywhere I go on vacation, and just like this, it is something that has become kind of a fixture in my everyday carry on vacation or when I'm out and about or camping. But it reminded me of the very purpose that this has in my gaming life. Now having this in my coffee life. I'm just looking for the simplest way to have the greatest experience. The most charming way to have a good experience. The most aesthetically pleasing way to have a very simple experience. All I want to do is play video games. That's it. That's literally it. And the Nintendo Switch's library has become stale. I've played all I wanted to play on it, and the access to the games I want to play are there, but they're reruns, so to speak. It's a TiVo. Yeah, sure. They added 3 or 4 games to the Nintendo Switch Online. Super Mario Brothers 1 or Super Mario Land 1 and Mario Baseball or something. That's great. Those are fun. I have nothing against those games. I enjoy them. But as I venture through the different spots playing Final Fantasy on this, every single Final Fantasy game I want, here, 1 through 15, excluding 11 and 14, as I do that live on Twitch, 7 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, it excites me, right? Because it does exactly what I want it to do. It allows me to plug into a TV, which I have on my desk, and game while sitting down. Or when I just want to relax in my living room, do the same thing, unplug it and game in my living room. And when I look at it, when I hold it and touch it, it inspires me to play video games. And I feel that same thing when I use something like this. Because one, I think that when it comes to design, there has to be a level of inspiration by the user. I think that's why design is such an important thing. Why something like the Asus ROG Ally, for me, I think is kind of gross and hideous. I think this is hideous, the Steam Deck, but just by adding this case, I think it's the coolest piece of technology that has ever been designed. I don't know what it is about adding this basically Glock Loady, as I call it, the Glock Loady, but it just looks so freaking tight. I love the way this looks. But it just inspires me to play. And I want less, right? The gear that I have is great. I would love to get to a point, and it's a working process because for me, I'm battling against myself. And I don't know if you feel the same way too, dads. Like, I'm battling a very real beast, and that beast is ingrained FOMO and consumerism. I'm battling that. I see the next best, greatest thing, and as a content creator, I'm like, I need to talk about this. I need to own this. I need them, the audience, to know that I am a part of this conversation. When in reality, the conversation I want to have is one of being content with the tools you have. Because that's all this is. This Aeropress is a tool. It is to grant me access to delicious coffee. Now, manual brew or any sort of pour over is relatively inexpensive in its own right. It's the gear that gets you to that spot that gets more and more expensive. But very easily, I could simplify this whole process down to a hand grinder and a flame. And I could get relatively, if not the exact same cup of coffee. And I think that is the inspiration I draw from this. And I would have never thought that just like a brew method, one that I've been using every day, the mini, the Go one, but getting, this purple one would do such a thing to me, but it inspires me in such a way, especially with what's happening with Microsoft, Sony, Ubisoft, all of these companies wanting more, making it more complex, making it more, not nefarious, but almost criminal in their ways and their tactics and getting you and your money and your information into their hands, when really unplugging and just enjoying the very thing that we have right in front of us called video games is so much more important. I know that I, in 2024, wanted to really dedicate a lot of my efforts to playing more video games. I'm almost thankful that the industry as a whole is doing exactly what we thought they were doing, except now publicly. We thought these decisions were happening behind closed doors. We felt this weird uneasiness when things happen because we're like, this just doesn't sit well or make sense. They are not making the best decisions with our interests in mind, which, why would they? They're companies. I, again, come back to this very grail piece here, this silly little brew method, and I think to myself, how can I make my life more like an Aeropress? It does the job. It does the job. It does it very, very well, and it's exciting and fun. How can I bring that kind of criteria to gaming? And if I was to apply that criteria to gaming and look at the gear I have, I am so unbelievably confident that moving into the next decade of gaming, this form factor, but almost and arguably this device, is the Aeropress of gaming. It's not complicated. It's relatively simple. It can do just enough. And it's very, very exciting to use. That's great. Can other things do it objectively better? Yes. But does this have, by this I point to both, the most user-friendly and lowest learning curve when it comes to having an incredible experience? Yeah. Mistakes can be made. Can not be educated enough on certain ways of the process, certain processes, making coffee, making a game work right. But once you figure it out, it's repeatable and it's fun and it's exciting. And so today is heavily inspired by Aeropress, this Aeropress. I wish I could say that this is an ad and that they sponsored, but they're not. Not at all. You want one? The only thing I can say is I have an affiliate link to Amazon, which I make like, I don't know if it's $50 and I make 1%. What's that? 50 cents? Make 50 cents? Yeah, 50 cents is good. I can get a gumball with that. I don't know, maybe half a gumball with inflation, but I can get a gumball. Oh, inflation. Get a gumball. Okay. That's enough for me today. I'm not going to finish this full cup right now because I'm going to finish it off. Join me in live streams going through the Final Fantasy series 100% on the Steam Deck. Even if my PlayStation 5 can do it better, I'm saying bye-bye to that thing as far as turning it on. I still use the PlayStation Portal, but not as often anymore. It's all about the Steam Deck. All right, guys. You have a good one. As always, happy gaming.